Charles, may I see the notes he passed under the door?
Certainly. This is the first one that Sir Charles found himself. Yes, this is it. Saying that he would blow up the place if anyone tried to enter the room. And this is the one he slid under the door at 2 o'clock, saying that he'd explode the nitroglycerine at 3 o'clock.
22 minutes.
Watson, you've dealt with mentally disturbed patients. What do you say about this handwriting?
This man's not mentally disturbed.
I agree.
In fact...
Exactly. Sir Charles, is it possible for me to have a list of everything there is in that room?
Yes, of course. But Mr. Holmes, do you know what this building is?
It would be presumptuous of me to guess when I'm talking to the man who actually knows.
I must have your assurance, in fact your word of honor, that anything you learn here must be kept in the strictest secrecy.
You have my word and that of Dr. Watson.
Without question.
Excuse me, Sir Charles. I certainly don't question the integrity of Mr. Holmes or Dr. Watson, but don't you think the Home Secretary should be consulted before revealing the information that Mr. Holmes has requested?
Oh, the one who keeps telling us how much time we have left. You're right, of course, Mr. Chapman, but under the circumstances, I'll take the responsibility.
Yes, sir.
Would you show Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson to the conference room? I'll join you there with the information you require. Inspector Lestrade, I don't know what Mr. Holmes might be able to accomplish in the few minutes we have left, but don't you think it'd be wiser to get your men to clear the area around that room? I'll do that. Jameson.
Yes, sir.
I want this area cleared. Tell all the men to keep their heads down and stop anyone who tries to get through.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Watson. What's wrong with the handwriting on those notes?
Well, there's nothing wrong with it. Then what were you and Holmes talking about? How do you feel about being in the presence of 10 pounds of nitroglycerin?
Nervous.
That's the point. That young man in there, what's his name?
Carter.
He's not nervous.
He's not nervous?
No.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
That's the mystery. And Holmes has got 20 minutes to solve the mystery. It's not an exaggeration to say that this building houses all the secrets of the Empire. Every crucial and critical intelligence report, both diplomatic and military.
But what would Carter hope to accomplish by blowing up the room?
Nothing. He could destroy the documents, of course, but he couldn't escape with them. Couldn't leave this building and sell them.
What time is it?
5 minutes to 3.
That's everything there is in that room.
Everything.
Down to the smallest detail?
Everything.
Charles, Mr. Chapman, would you please wait here? I'd like to step outside with Dr. Watson.
Yes.
Would you come with me, Watson?
Certainly.
What's the matter, Holmes? What's wrong?
There's no ink.
What?
There's no ink in that room, no pen, there's no writing paper in that room.
Well, what does that mean?
Think about it.
2 notes were written before he entered the room.
I'm going to open the door.
What about the nitroglycerin?
I don't believe it will explode.
You don't believe it will?
No.
Well then, open the door.
The only thing he didn't plan was his own murder. Lestrade! Inspector Lestrade? You can come out now.
What is it? Where's the nitroglycerine?
Nitroglycerine looks like dirty water.
I know, I've seen it.
We all saw it. It is only dirty water.
He's dead.
We know.
But that's impossible.
Yes.
I was right here. My men are all over the place. This building has the tightest security in the whole of London. No one can possibly get into that room or out without being seen.
2 men got in and out of that room without being seen.
Who?
Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes.
I don't mean you two. You didn't do it, did you?
We left Sir Charles and Mr. Chapman in the conference room. You send a man to tell Sir Charles I'd like to speak with him privately in his office?
Jameson.
Yes, sir.
Run.
Yes, sir.
You'll have to send for a wagon to remove the body.
Oh, yes, I'll have to do that.
Lestrade, when the body's actually in the wagon, I'd appreciate your telling me.
Why?
I should like someone who knew him to make a formal identification.
Oh, yes, of course. Sir Charles's office is down the corridor on the left.
Thank you, Lestrade.
Is there some doubt in your mind about the identity of the corpse?
None at all. I believe we can persuade the corpse to name his killer.
First, I thought that Carter had gone insane, barricading himself in that room, nitroglycerin, but now that he's actually been murdered, in this building, I just don't know what to think.
No, thank you. I may be able to help you. Mr. Chapman escorted Dr. Watson and myself to the conference room and then joined you in the file.
Yes.
Was there an unusual length of time before he joined you?
No, I don't think so.
But then he stayed with you until you joined us again.
No. He suggested that you might want an inventory of the furnishings of the room as well as the files. I believe criminology is a hobby of his.
So I gathered. He left you then to make that inventory.
Yes.
How long was he gone?
Well, not long enough to make me think it an unusual length of time.
How long would you say?
4 or 5 minutes.
Yes, I'd say that was long enough.
If Carter was expecting him and they were working together.
Working together? To do what? What could they hope to accomplish?
Sir Charles, this is extremely delicate, and I don't wish to entrust it to the police. May I ask you to go to the conference room and escort Mr. Chapman back here?
Yes. You want me to tell him?
Only that I wish to speak with him. Tell him it's a routine matter.
I'll fetch it.
What can Chapman hope?
You have the most difficult job of all. I want you to tell, no teach, Inspector Lestrade to do exactly what I tell you.
Lestrade.
It's our only chance.
This is the most shocking thing I've ever heard. Somebody actually murdered Carter.
I won't ask you to sit down, Mr. Chapman. I've only a few questions.
Well, of course.
After you left Dr. Watson and myself in the conference room, you then joined Sir Charles in the file room.
Yes.
Then you left the file room to make an inventory of the furniture of the room in which Carter had barricaded himself.
Well, I thought you'd wanted.
Did you see anyone? Or more particularly, did anyone see you from the time you left Sir Charles until the time you returned?
I don't believe so. Well, no. Everybody was near the room Carter was in.
But I can personally testify that no one was actually watching the door of that room.
Well, we all thought it was going to explode.
Not all, Mr. Chapman. Carter himself knew that it wouldn't explode. And his confederate knew that it was perfectly safe to go in and go out. Inspector Lestrade, arrest this man and take him to Scotland Yard.
But you're insane.
Anything you say will be taken down and used as evidence against you. Jameson?
You don't know what you're talking about. Get your hands off me.
You better use handcuffs. Yes, handcuff him.
But Sir Charles, stop them. Well, you know I had nothing to do with all this.
This is beyond me. I just don't know what to say.
I'm sorry to impose upon you, Sir Charles, but Carter's body has been put in the police wagon. I shall need a formal identification.
Of course.
Much obliged to you, sir.
Sorry about this, Sir Charles. Has to be done.
Holmes said you'd do that. There's blood on this jacket, Sir Charles. Is this the one you were looking for?
You were brilliant, Mr. Holmes. Absolutely brilliant.
You're very kind.
I believe I could have solved the crime myself, but of course not so quickly. I would have needed a bit more time.
Well, if Mr. Holmes hadn't have been there, I should have arranged to have a great deal of time on your hands. 3 to 5 years, to be exact.
This time, the real credit is not mine. Inspector Lestrade, your performance, your acting when you pretended to believe Mr. Chapman to be the killer was perfection.
Acting. Perfection. I'm afraid I didn't carry out your instructions quite as you suggested. I neglected to tell Inspector Lestrade that you were bluffing, that he was expected to act the part, so to speak. Well, I didn't know I was supposed to act.
Well, cheerio.
Good help.